Let's start off with Children of Men, new movie by Alfonso Cuarón, who was the guy who made Harry Potter and The Prisoner of Azkaban, which is the best of the Harry Potter movies. And before that, he made Y Tu Mamá También. This is a dystopian future fantasy based on the work of P.D. James, set in near-future Britain, which is complete. Everything's fallen apart, totally overrun by terrorist bombings. All immigration has become illegal, and immigrants are being treated really, really badly. Everything has fallen apart. Worst of all, people have lost the ability to reproduce. The youngest person in the world has just recently died, and there is no longer any reproduction. Suddenly, a small band of terrorists, outlaws, whatever you want to call them, find themselves in possession of a pregnant woman, perhaps the only pregnant woman in the world, and their job is to get her, strangely enough, to Bexhill so that she can then be taken onto the Human Project. Bexhill, not as is thought of in the Goon Show, you know, the dreaded batter pudding hurler of Bexhill-on-Sea, but Bexhill has now become, well, Beirut, really. I mean, it's just the most unbelievable war zone. I thought it was a really interesting film. Very dark, very grim, very sort of overpowering dystopian future vision. Reminded me a lot of Brazil. I mean, it is true that Britain does dystopian visions better than almost any other country. You think of things like 1984. You think of, well, I mean, I always think of, you know, Brazil as being the classic vision. This comes in that line. It's just about credible. It's taken an area that you know quite well. You remember Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later?
Yes.
Remember that vision of like just post-apocalyptic London when the world had started to fall apart, but it was still recognisable. You could still get on the motorway and drive from London to Manchester. You just might get eaten by zombies on the way. Well, it's like that. Everywhere looks like news footage, war zone footage, and yet it's still recognisable as the outskirts of London, the landmarks of London, and the bits of Bexhill. Very, very well played. An outstandingly good cameo by Michael Caine, who I have to say has been so off the ball recently. I mean, Michael Caine usually, when he does a cameo, comes on, does some mad guy, and does, you know, hello, I'm Michael Caine, blah, blah, and everybody gives him an award because they think that he's Michael Caine. They give him an award just for being Michael Caine. In this, he's actually very good as an eccentric eco-warrior who has retreated to the woods and is part of the, you know, the vanguard of freedom fighters, but he doesn't over-egg it. He does a very good Michael Caine performance. In many ways, he reminded me of the performance that he gave in Educating Rita. Which, you remember that, in which he plays a drunk, but he reins it in, and he does it in a way which is really convincing. And I thought the film looked terrific. It had a really overpowering atmosphere. Yes, it's grim. Yes, it's bleak. It ends up on a very big religious allegorical point, because the question is, this woman who is pregnant, is it somehow, this pregnancy, the second coming? I mean, you know, obviously...
Omen 3.
Well, no, Omen 3 was the second coming of the devil. Oh, no, but of course at the end of Omen 3 it was the second coming of Christ, wasn't there?
As I recall.
Because it ends up with the devil is there, but then Jesus turns up.
You must get the devil and the Lord sorted out.